staying, hanging out in those storage drains with the homeless people. You remember? 'Cause I can't remember exactly what you said. Can you talk about that again? Tell me talk about that time in your life.
Well, uh, the railroads that went through there in Newport, Kentucky. The railroads were on the streets, right on the streets, no blocks or anything. And they went down over the Taylor Mill bottoms, and then that was a low spot, and it wasn't built on. It had baseball fields and stuff on it. Then when it came to Bellevue, it came back up to the street level, was at least as high as Newport or higher. When I got up to Bellevue, the cars, instead of going down on street level, keeping tracks level in Bellevue, they kind of cut a ditch to put the tracks in to keep them level. So the train wasn't doing this.
Yeah, it wasn't going up and down.
And by the time it got to the ends of Bellevue, it was back, the street level had changed enough. And in Dayton, the railroad tracks were at street level again. It was the same level as Newport. And so it went through Dayton and came out of Dayton at the other end, and then it was out in the country. When it was out in the country, it did a little bit of this, and the railroad did a little bit of this, but it was, the level went on for quite a while. They did considerable filling of when they laid the tracks, under the tracks to bring the railroad up some, but there was no housing there or anything else. It was just farms and a road next to the railroad track. And so in Bellevue, where the streets were, through the train was, where the streets going the opposite way. Well, the train was down below the streets where they crossed there, and they had great big, I guess you'd call it pipe, concrete pipe, go across there. That was so the water could run out of
the storm water when it rained.
When it rained, yeah, and so those big streets, I could stand up in them.
Really?
And with the kids in the wintertime, in the summertime, the kids, we would go up on the railroad properties and have little bonfires and sit around and talk and stuff. In the wintertime, when it was cold and the wind was blowing, we'd go in those pipes. But those pipes didn't hold water. They drained water, and the water went through them to get it out of there.
So then they were dry.
And then soon they were soon dry. If you got in them and they were still wet, but no standing water. If you had an armload of kindling and got a fire started in there, they dried off on the surfaces very quickly. We'd go in there. They were kind of clubhouses, but they weren't clubhouses. But I never had any. In all the times we spent around those things, I never had anybody ever say if you don't get out of here, we'll arrest you or something. The railroad, it had nothing in there to hurt, and the kids really didn't hurt anything in there. It was sort of like a clubhouse with a long level open at each end, and that was where the water entered this here and went under the city streets out the other side, and it was down low. And again, but it was those tunnels were strictly for to get water out of Bellevue, a high point to the low points on each end.
About how old were you when you were doing this?
10, 11, 12.
Did you ever encounter any homeless people or bums going through?
They did once in a while, and our typical thing when we did that was run.
Get away, yeah.
Get out of the way and find another one.
Yeah. You talked about climbing up on the coal cars and not throwing coal down. You did that when you were 10 or 11?
I was older.
Older for that, yeah. So that was in the wintertime, you'd get, when the trains were going slow, you
Yeah.
said.
Yeah, well, the streetcars, the train, it was running on the streets in Newport and the streets in Dayton was slow way down, so the cars weren't moving very fast at all. You didn't have to run hard to grab a step
Mm-hmm.
and pull yourself along and get your feet on the lower step and get up to the top. I never did crawl out onto the cars.
Oh, you didn't do that?
I went up the ladder and stood at the top of the ladder and threw the blocks of coal off on the gravel next to the railroad track.
I see. So you were on the cars of the train moving, but you didn't climb up on the very top.
I never did climb up on top of it.
But on the car.
On the car to throw it off. And when you had a little fire in one of those big tunnels, and at nighttime, a bucket of coal lasted quite a long time because there was no wind blowing on it. The car, it didn't burn very fast, but it burned enough that warmed up that little space that you were in.
I could see that. So that was something. So did adults come down and pick up some of that coal to keep their houses warm? Yeah. They did.
There were people walked the railroad every day looking for coal because the coal bounced off those cars too, because those cars were built with the top of the car, and then they sloped them up, built a pile up at the center of the car down to the edges.
So some coal would fall off naturally.
Some would fall off naturally.
Yeah, I see.
But and the poor people, they would get up on it too. But you could almost every time a car went by, if you looked up, you look at the top of the steps and you could see an indentation where the coal wasn't piled up as high, where somebody had been standing up on holding on. But if you got on a car when it was moving fast, you had a hard time getting on and a hard time getting off. Where when you were in a place where it was between two cities where they ran on the streets, you didn't have any problem keeping up with it. The railroads went through the towns. So, and Bellevue just happened to be between those two, and they didn't speed up when they went through Bellevue and then had to slow down again to go through Dayton.
And that was too short of a distance, I guess.
It was very short distance for a railroad.